Did you hear it? At last, Rwanda and DR Congo have signed a peace framework in Washington, D.C. Can a fragile truce withstand years of deep division? Welcome to BTH News. In what diplomats are calling a cautiously optimistic step, the Republic of Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo, DRC, have signed a pivotal declaration of principles today in Washington. This significant diplomatic gesture, facilitated by the United States, is designed to reduce tensions, rebuild dialogue, and prevent further escalation in a region long plagued by mistrust and conflict. The signing will take place at 2 p.m. Eastern Time. State Department, hosted by Secretary of State Marco Rubio. Representing Rwanda is Olivier Nduhungirehe, the nation's Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, while Therese Kayakwamba Wagner, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the DRC, will represent Kinshasa. After the ceremony, the two ministers held private discussions with Deputy Secretary of State Christopher Landau. These closed-door meetings aim to establish a foundation for future negotiations and explore potential security agreements. The Washington moment. Is it a turning point? For many observers, the Washington summit feels different. Previous regional efforts, like the Luanda process or the Nairobi-led East African Community (EAC) dialogues, were seen as reactive and often marred by mistrust. Still, peace declarations have been signed before and broken before the ink even dried. In fact, Rwandan President Paul Kagame accused Democratic Republic of Congo President Felix Tshisekedi of not being a man of his word, claiming that he changes his mind as soon as he walks out of a meeting. To understand how we got here, one must trace the 3 decades of complicated history between the two neighbors. The 1994 genocide against the Tutsi. Following the genocide, perpetrators, members of the Interahamwe militia and ex-FAR, Rwandan armed forces, fled into eastern Zaire, now DRC. They formed the FDLR, Democratic Forces for the Liberation of Rwanda, a rebel force Rwanda considers an existential threat. Despite repeated UN resolutions, the DRC has struggled, or some say failed, to remove these forces from its territory. Let's rewind a bit and look into the history. There were First and Second Congo Wars, 1996 to 2003. Rwanda invaded Zaire in 1996 to pursue genocidaires, catalyzing the First Congo War. That conflict ousted dictator Mobutu Sese Seko and installed Laurent Desire Kabila. By 1998, the alliance had fractured. Rwanda supported rebels against Kabila's regime, launching the Second Congo War, often called Africa's World War. It involved 9 African nations and led to over 5 million deaths, most from starvation and disease. Here comes an important player. The rise and return of M23. The March 23 movement emerged from this cauldron. It was formed in 2012 by ex-Congolese Tutsi soldiers who mutinied, claiming that the Congolese government had failed to implement a 2009 peace agreement. And then boom, Goma falls in 2012. In a brazen move, M23 seized Goma, the capital of North Kivu, in November 2012. Though they withdrew after international pressure, the message was clear: the DRC's eastern frontier remained fragile. The UN and various NGOs accused Rwanda of supporting M23, a charge Kigali denied. The UN's group of experts cited military and logistical support traced to Rwanda. This prompted several international donors to suspend aid to Kigali temporarily. Later, M23 seemed defeated and dormant in the period of 2013 to 2020. M23 was militarily defeated in 2013. Fighters fled to Rwanda and Uganda, and a fragile peace followed. But this was not a permanent solution. By 2021, fighters regrouped, rearmed, and returned to eastern DRC, doing what they call claiming the rights of being recognized as Congolese. Till now, the resurgence of M23 led to renewed accusations between Kinshasa and Kigali. 2022, M23 seized multiple towns in North Kivu. 2023, Rwanda accused Congolese jets of violating its airspace. DRC alleged direct Rwandan military intervention. 2024, diplomatic ties worsened. Embassies were scaled down. Joint regional operations failed to halt M23's advance. In late 2024, the DRC expelled Rwandan diplomats, citing unacceptable interference. Rwanda responded with similar measures, pushing the nations to the brink of war. Since January of this year, M23 has been controlling Goma, the capital of North Kivu province, and advanced southward, capturing Bukavu, the capital of South Kivu province, on February 16. What is the human cost of these struggles? The toll of this conflict is immense. There are over 6.9 million internally displaced persons, IDPs, across eastern DRC. There are cases of mass rape, forced recruitment, and ethnic massacres reported by UN and Human Rights Watch. There is chronic instability preventing development, education, and healthcare in mineral-rich provinces like North Kivu and Ituri. The M23 has been accused of extrajudicial killings and forced taxation. Congolese troops, too, have been implicated in abuses, leading to a population caught between two forces. But the important question remains. Who are the M23 rebels? Where do they come from? How are they linked to Rwanda? And why does the government of the DRC reject them? If you read the history, the reason becomes clearer. During the Berlin Conference of 1884 to 1885, when European powers divided Africa among themselves for colonization, they drew arbitrary borders that split communities and families across newly formed countries. What they did was inhumane and devastating. Entire communities were divided, and people suddenly found themselves citizens of different countries. In the case of M23, these are Congolese people, geographically and by birth. When Rwanda was divided during the colonial era, the area where these people lived was designated as part of the Democratic Republic of Congo. As a result, they continued to speak Kinyarwanda and share cultural traits with Rwandans. However, they are Congolese. They were born and raised in the DRC and have lived for generations on the same land as their ancestors. This is what the Congolese government has failed to acknowledge and accept. They claim that M23 members are not Congolese simply because they are ethnic Hutu or Tutsi and speak Kinyarwanda. In response, the Rwandan government argues that it cannot stand and just watch by while Kinyarwanda-speaking people suffer under a regime that governs through ethnicity, hatred, and division. Another important question is, why does this conflict matter globally? Why are countries like the United States, the United Kingdom, Belgium, China, France, Russia, and many other global powers so interested? The answer is simple. The Democratic Republic of Congo is extremely rich in natural resources, especially those found underground. The phones you're holding in your hands, the devices you're using to listen to this documentary, I can almost guarantee they contain at least a particle of mineral that came from Congo. So this isn't just a local conflict. China and Russia are increasing their strategic footprints in the DRC through mining and arms contracts. France, with historic ties to Francophone Africa, has backed Congo diplomatically. Uganda has also engaged militarily in joint operations with the Congolese army. The UN mission MONUSCO, one of the world's largest peacekeeping operations, is winding down, creating a security vacuum. Secretary Rubio said the Declaration of Principles established a fundamental understanding of regional governance, security, economic frameworks, and to end the fighting and allow the region to reach its full potential. Having both of my counterparts here, the foreign ministers of these respective countries, demonstrates the beginning of a strong commitment to having the conversations that we need to have in order to reach a resolution, he said. He added that a peaceful Great Lakes region serves U.S. investment interests. The U.S. government is looking to striking critical minerals deals with Rwanda and DR Congo. Durable peace comes before economic development, Rubio said. It's impossible to do without the peace. It will also allow millions of displaced people to return to their homes, to safer communities, with new economic opportunities that have escaped generations. It is important to note that, however, peace agreements in this region have failed before. What's different now? Leadership maturity. Both presidents, Paul Kagame and Felix Tshisekedi, face international pressure to reduce hostilities and refocus on internal development. Economic interests. Rwanda aims to preserve its international partnerships and stability as a technology and investment hub. Citizen voices. Civil society groups in both nations have increasingly called for diplomacy over war. Still, trust is thin, and implementation remains the real challenge. Any misstep by local commanders or militia factions could unravel months of diplomacy. But there is hope. The new United States government is led by a businessman, and the entire administration appears to be shifting toward a more transactional, interest-based foreign policy. During today's signing ceremony, the Secretary of State openly stated that the United States is stepping in out of economic interest. This marks a significant shift from previous diplomacy based largely on humanitarian or security concerns. Now, economic opportunity and strategic investment are front and center. This new approach suggests that the U.S. could serve not just as a neutral observer, but as a guarantor of the implementation of this security deal. President Donald Trump, known for his business-oriented leadership style, has repeatedly expressed a disdain for wasted resources and failed deals. In his view, every agreement must produce measurable results. He would not like to see any coin slipping, meaning any misuse of funds, broken commitments, or deteriorating security conditions. If either Rwanda or the DRC deviates from the agreed terms, it is likely that President Trump will hold their leadership publicly and diplomatically accountable. His administration thrives on performance metrics, visible success, and tangible outcomes, characteristics that could pressure both countries to remain committed to the peace and development agenda outlined in the new agreement. In conjunction, Qatar has played a quiet but crucial role in mediating between Rwanda and the Democratic Republic of Congo. Leveraging its growing reputation as a diplomatic bridge builder in regional conflicts, Qatar facilitated back-channel discussions that helped ease tensions and create the foundation for this agreement. Qatari officials hosted delegations in Doha, offering a neutral and secure environment for negotiations. Their approach has been discreet but effective. Qatar's involvement adds another layer of legitimacy to the deal and reflects its strategic interest in expanding influence in African diplomacy and investment. Meanwhile, the spirit of doing business, central to the new United States administration's worldview, is being visibly demonstrated in this international engagement. Unlike traditional aid packages with strings attached or open-ended commitments, the Trump administration's model is deal-driven. It prioritizes investments with mutual returns, emphasizes infrastructure development, and encourages private sector participation. USA companies are already scouting opportunities in mineral extraction, logistics, and technology across the Great Lakes region. Washington's involvement in the Rwanda-DRC deal is therefore not purely diplomatic. It is part of a larger framework aimed at opening new markets for American businesses while stabilizing regions of economic interest. This business-first diplomacy may prove effective where previous efforts have failed. When parties know that their economic futures and access to international markets depend on peace and cooperation, they are more likely to stay the course. If the United States can anchor its economic interests in a stable and secure Rwanda-DRC corridor, then peace will not only be a moral imperative, but also a profitable one. As we conclude, we can ask ourselves another question. Is this going to be a new chapter? Today's signing in Washington may not end the conflict overnight, but it offers a glimmer of hope, a reset point for two nations whose fates are inextricably linked. Whether that hope endures depends not just on what is written on paper, but on what is implemented on the ground. As the world watches, the people of Rwanda and the DRC, particularly those in the eastern borderlands, hope that this time, peace will not just be promised, but practiced. Thanks for tuning in. This is BTH News. Please subscribe to be the first to hear our programs.